My name is Raquel Bracey. I am currently employed as head chief of the genomics branch at the National Institute of Wellness. Genomics is the branch of molecular biology that focuses on the structure, function, evolution, and mapping of genomes. However, research of single genes doesn't quite fall into the category of genomics all the time. In fact, a large portion of the work I do falls into the epigenetic category. Epigenetics in biology is essentially the study of the changes in appearance, which is called phenotype, or gene expression, which is called genotype, caused by mechanisms other than the DNA sequence. Genes are just the basic unit of heredity. These genes carry histones. Histones are important proteins that are the primary components of chromatin, which is the complex of DNA and proteins that makes up chromosomes. I study environmental factors that influence the epigenome. 3 environmental factors are food, pollution, and social demeanors. Some genetic diseases caused by epigenetic factors are cancer, heart disease, Angelman syndrome, and arthritis. These are all diseases which are caused by factors not written in your DNA. To put it simply, I conduct studies designed to find out why exactly the physical characteristics of twins get increasingly different as they grow older, why certain diseases are suddenly triggered by things not in the genetic code, and why the food we eat today may affect our unborn children 15 years from now, even if our DNA says it shouldn't. In these studies, I usually perform a science experiment, like the types you usually hear about at school. There's a hypothesis and a control group, along with variables and data tables. It isn't actually as dull as it may seem. For instance, last February, my department did a lab on environmental factors that affect the epigenome. We had 1 docile mouse in a room with aggressive mice. When the docile mouse bred, her offspring were aggressive, although this was not a code written in the DNA. Afterward, we took some DNA from the docile mouse's offspring. Using a process called DNA methylation, we were able to identify and remove the genes that made them aggressive. DNA methylation is a chemical modification of a gene that regulates gene expression through gene regulatory proteins. Gene regulatory proteins are proteins able to recognize and bind to a specific sequence of DNA, resulting in a change in gene expression. The end result of this is what we call, in the science world, an imprinted gene. An imprinted gene is a gene whose expression has been affected by genomic imprinting so that only a single allele functions, the other being turned off by epigenetic modifications. When DNA from the docile mouse is taken, we found no gene for this. This is a prime example of the work that I do on a daily basis. And some people may not think my job important to the populace, but my job is actually extremely important. With epigenetics, we are able to identify problems and completely eliminate them. For now, it's aggressive genes in mice, but in the future, it could be genetic diseases in children. We would have the potential to stop Asperger's and maybe even cancer someday. My job will ultimately help the future generations. Some people are largely against what I do. I've heard that epigenetic research is a form of religious persecution and that it enriches on the freedom of others. I've heard people argue that as a selective form of breeding, epigenetics raises concerns of designer babies creating genes that are not necessarily found in nature and deciding which genes are not favorable according to the cultural and moral standards of society. Harmful genes today may serve some beneficial evolutionary function tomorrow, but people say that if they're weeded out today, then we'll have nothing at all to return to. I don't think that many people realize that epigenetics is not a human rights violation. We don't want to create the perfect person. Not at all. We're actually just trying to remove harmful genes and provide others with the life that everybody has. Because, some people, people with Asperger's didn't particularly ask for Asperger's. So, to those people, epigenetics is a terrible evil. But to the mother who can't provide for her child with Asperger's, and to the father who only wanted his child to live to see college, and to the grandparents who would like a healthy, strong child, epigenetics is possibly the cure. Even despite the protesters and various attempts on my life, I love my job. I provide a better life for those who would otherwise have suffered. And I feel great when I go home at the end of the day, because I know that in the end, I'll be making a difference. And when I'm gone, I will have had some type of impact on things that are going on here. I have a good amount of fun doing what I do, and it makes others happy, and that's pretty much all what it's about. And I get paid pretty decently as well. So, in closing, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I doubt that that was as much fun watching as it was making, but at least you learned something. So, remember, stay pro epigenetics. It's not bad. Raquel Bracey, Class 802, Expiration, that's it.